everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name's Kaya and today I'm going to be making a video about the cost of living in Milan. I've had a couple of requests from you guys about, rental costs, cost of living, groceries, phone bills, etc, etc. So I wanted to make a video that kind of broke everything down, because I know it can be a bit difficult, like having to search up for all of these different things, and sometimes it's not accurate and sometimes it's not coming from like a real, I guess, source or someone who's lived there for a year. So yeah, I wanted to just make a video with it all in the one place, just so it's a bit easier for you guys who are curious, who do want to know about the cost of living in Milan. You can find it all in here, I hope. And I hope this answers all of your questions. If it doesn't, make sure to leave a comment below and I'll be sure to reply to you down there, or I'll make another video adding to this one. So I hope this can be insightful, I hope this really helps, and let's just get straight into it. So I'm gonna start off with rent. So the cost of rent in Milan really depends on whereabouts in the city you live, your proximity to the city centre, to shops, to metro stations, etc, etc. The closer you are to the city, the more expensive rent will be. And also it depends as well if you want to live with people or if you'd rather live by yourself in like a monolocale or a studio apartment. So say if you want to live in a monolocale or a studio apartment by yourself in the city centre, you can expect to pay anywhere from 800 euros to 1,500 or 2,000 euros. And if you want to alternatively live in a bilocale, so share with one other person, say for example, and you both get your own room, it can be anywhere from 1,200 euros to 3,000 euros depending on, the type of place it is, how modern it is, the amenities, etc, etc. So yeah, it really depends on a lot of things, what you're willing to pay for, what you're willing to compromise on. So say for example you wanted to get a bilocale out of the city, so the one I was talking about before was in the city centre. If you want to get one that's out of the city, you can get bilocale for about, bilocali I should say, for like if you want to just rent a room, you could expect to pay anywhere from 400 to 700 euros, depending again on the area, depending on access to shops and metro and public transport and things like that. So it really depends. It depends on your budget, it depends on which zone you want to live in. So there's not like one capped answer. But say for example you wanted to live in, if you wanted to just get a room in an apartment with say like 3 other people, you can get a pretty good one for like 400, 500, 600 euros per month if you're willing to live with other people. If you don't mind about that kind of thing, you can find pretty good places. But in saying that as well, if you come with someone, for example, and you plan to find a place together, it can be a little bit difficult to find 2 rooms that are available, or an entire place that's available for 2 people. For some reason, my friend and I, when we got there, we really struggled with that, and then we ended up just finding our own places in the end anyway. So yeah, just keep that in mind. It's also good, I would recommend, to break out of your comfort zone a little bit. Don't necessarily stay in your comfort bubble, because for the first few months when I got in Milan, I guess that was kind of my mentality, and I wish I had have broken out more. But in saying that though, I did end up living with 3 other girls who I'd never met prior to being in Milan, and that was probably the best thing that I've ever done. Still friends to this day. I literally was FaceTiming with them last night and we're planning a road trip together, which will be fun. But yeah, just things like that you really have to just say yes to and be open to, because my biggest problem was being shut off to, living with strangers, and I was really closed down to that idea. But you realize that when you get there, that's what you want to do. You want to be involved with people, because you're so alone anyway when you get to a new city or a new country, that you kind of want that, you want that support. And not to mention that it's a lot cheaper as well if you want to live with other people. So definitely keep that in mind when before you go into a rental, or when deciding about what kind of rental that you want that will best suit you. The next thing that I'm going to talk about is eating out. Now, compared to Australia, I would say in general eating out is quite cheap in Italy. Obviously, again, it depends on where you go, but anywhere in the city centre, in the Galleria Vittorio Emanuele, for example, really touristy hotspot, it's going to be way overpriced. So definitely don't go in there if you're looking for a more affordable dinner, because that's not where you're going to get it. If you go to any authentic Italian restaurant in Milan, it's going to be way cheaper than if you were to go out to, say, a sushi restaurant or something that's kind of foreign to Italian food, Italian cuisine. But in saying that though, Italy, well, Milan in particular, has so many sushi restaurants, and they have this thing where it's an all-you-can-eat sushi. So a lot of the time there's a lot of places where you can go in Milan where you pay like a capped price and you can like keep ordering sushi at the same price. So I think lunch it's about 12 euros, and then dinner is like 20 or 22 or something like that, and you just get like unlimited sushi, which is pretty cool. So you definitely have to try that when you're in Milan, but yeah, maybe don't do it every single day, every time you eat out, because it can add up quite a lot. So say for example you went out for dinner in the Galleria, you could expect to pay, you know, 60 euros to 100 euros for one dinner for 2 people, and it's like, if you do that all the time, it definitely adds up. So I would recommend instead, for when you go out for dinner, go to like an authentic pizza place or an authentic pasta place where you're going to pay a more realistic price, and it's likely going to be more authentic Italian food anyway. So I'd really recommend doing that. Ask the Italians as well, don't be scared to ask questions, because they'll always be happy to give you recommendations and things like that. I found that when I was in Italy, I asked so many people. I asked my Airbnb host, my buddy at university, he had a lot of recommendations for me as well. And just, you know, in general, you ask waiters at restaurants or people that you come into contact with in passing, like, what's a good place for dinner? So I feel like as well, when you're traveling, you become more, not more confident, but just more willing to talk to strangers, I feel, because you kind of, well, it was this is what happened for me anyways, that I kind of just maintained the mentality of, you know, no one knows me here, this is a fresh new palette to work from, and I'm just going to ask questions and find the best places. And it saved me a lot of trial and error in the beginning, having those recommendations and I guess tips for going out to eat. So yeah, definitely stick with the authentic Italian food if you can. And you know, little hole in the wall type places rather than in the big city. I would say save the, you know, the Duomo and the Galleria for sightseeing rather than sitting down to have a meal. It's going to be quite expensive to eat in those kind of areas. So yeah, just keep that in mind. Now I'm going to move on to alcohol, and I would say that alcohol is pretty cheap in Milan, or in Italy in general. Milan's actually probably the most expensive city in Italy. Well, it is the most expensive city in Italy, and it's still relatively affordable. Like, you can go to a regular supermarket, pick up a pretty decent bottle of wine between 5 and 10 euros. I mean, it's not going to be amazing, but you know, it gets the job done. It's good for like pre-drinking and things like that, or just, you know, you can get a pretty good bottle of wine for about 10 euros, which I would do, you know, occasionally, and it was pretty good. But yeah, they also have dedicated wine shops if you're into that kind of thing. But in terms of alcohol, it's pretty cheap if you are to buy it, say from the supermarket or something like that. But if you go out to drink, say in the Villi, if you order a regular cocktail, usually it's about 8 or 9 euros, or 8 to 12 euros usually, depending on, you know, where it's located and things like that. But as a general kind of price point, I would say between 8 and 10 euros for a drink. But you can get Aperol spritz and things like that for around about 6 euros or so in some parts of Milan. You just have to ask the Italians again where the best places to go are, and they'll take you. A lot of the time the Italians like to go to the bars where you like stand up and drink your spritz, or you go outside and like stand up and socialize. That's another thing. Italians are very social people, and they prefer, I guess, that kind of setting than going into like a fancy bar and like all sitting down and, you know, that kind of thing. So unless they're doing an aperitivo, sometimes it's just like a quick drink where you stand up and you drink your spritz or your gin and tonic or something. And a lot of the time doing it that way, it's cheaper as well. So I would recommend just asking the Italians again the best places to go, because you can get some pretty good deals on Aperol spritz in some parts of Milan. Now onto coffee. You can expect to pay about, you know, €1.50 to €2.50 for a classic espresso. Again, if you're in the Duomo or anywhere near there, you'll definitely be paying for the view, you'll be paying for the location. I remember paying for, I think the most that I paid for a coffee in that area was about €5. And if you put that into Australian dollars, that's like $8 or something like that, something ridiculous. But I was like, well, I'm never going there again. But you can get, you know, pretty good espresso at any bar really, for about €1.50 to €2. That'll change again. In the south of Italy, you can get an espresso for about 60 cents, which was crazy. I was like, pardon? 60 cents for a coffee? I'll take it. I'll take 5. In terms of groceries, I guess I could say that I survived pretty well off about 20 to 25 euros per week for groceries. Depends what kind of diet you have, depends what your priorities are. I guess some weeks it would change if I needed other things like, say, toothpaste or laundry detergent or things like that. It would always vary, but it would kind of always balance out week to week. So I would say about 25 euros per week was a pretty safe estimate. If you want to eat just like normal regular food, top tip, if you want to save money, just buy pasta, tomato sauce, buy like local ingredients like tomatoes, and fresh produce is always, you know, it's pretty cheap. But if you want to make stir fries and things like that, opt for the frozen veggies, because not only do they last a lot longer, but they're way cheaper as well. And they still taste pretty good once they're all cooked up and everything. So yeah, I did that quite a lot, is like bought frozen veggies and just like cooked up different stir fries and cooked rice and things like that. So that kind of worked out for me in terms of saving money as well. Yeah, about 25 euros a week in general. As for my phone plan, I went with Vodafone. They have a few different ones. They have Wind or Wind, Vodafone, they're the main two, I'm pretty sure. I went with Vodafone and paid 10 euros per month, but I've heard of people paying like 8 euros per month and things like that. And I think I got 25 gigabytes per month, paying 10 euros. So that worked pretty well for me. I didn't need much more than that, since I had Wi-Fi at home and Wi-Fi at uni. So the only times I would really be using my data would be, you know, if I went out during the day or during the night that wasn't at uni or whatever. So I feel like that worked pretty well for me. But yeah, they do, when it's out of tourist season, they do pretty good deals on phone plans. But when in the summer, when my family came to visit me, I remember them having to pay like 10 euros more just because it was like peak season, and they know that. And they know that people are going to be buying SIM cards during that time. So they put the prices up on tourist season. So when I arrived in February, I got a pretty good deal. And lastly, I'm going to talk about travel. So like different ways you can travel cheaply. And the first thing I want to talk about is Flixbus, which is like a bus company that travels all around Europe. I actually took a Flixbus all the way from Milan to Prague, and even though it did take me 13 hours, it was relatively cheap. So if you're willing to sit on a bus for a few hours or a lot of hours, then you can travel pretty cheap within Europe. It's definitely good for when you're traveling within Italy, because you can find really good deals at pretty cheap prices, like 10 euros, 15 euros, say, to go to like Florence or Rome or something, but keep an eye out on the trains as well, because you can get, they kind of like vary in price between the trains and the buses, so just work out which is actually going to be a cheaper option for you. But with the ESN card that I had for uni, I actually got 15% off Flixbus as well, so that's another thing. If you're going to Milan to study, definitely sign up for the ESN card, because you can get some pretty good discounts on, yeah, buses, clubs and things like that, club entries. So yeah, that's all I'm going to talk about for this video. Just let me know, again, like I said at the start, if you've got any more requests or recommendations for videos that you would like to see from me. I'm more than happy to make those for you. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it. Make sure to subscribe for new videos every single week, and I'll see you very soon in my next one. Bye!